our
This
budget.
conference will now be
Please call the roll,
recorded.
please.
Sure. Commissioner Ayala,
Here.
Commissioner Hutchins,
Here.
Commissioner Cassidy,
Here.
Vice Mayor Cos.
Here.
And Mayor Pugh.
Here. All right, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, any additions, deletions to the agenda? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to accept the agenda.
Mhm.
We need a
Is there a
second.
second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, getting right to it. Personnel, where's Michelle?
Can you use your microphone, please?
I said no, Michelle.
I'm here, sorry.
But she didn't say it.
Mr. Mayor.
I had a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
So this, the Florida Department of Revenue, is this the new percentage increase that you sent on the email?
This is different. This is the one that's on your dais right now.
Mhm.
This is answering Commissioner Cassidy's question, I believe, last week or last month
Okay.
of exempt amount.
Do we have would we have a new estimate of what the property value is now in Ocean Ridge? Did you see the new increase?
Yes, I did. I sent that through to. the
Yeah, we have it all.
We do?
Our taxes go up by about $900,000.
Really?
Ad valorem goes up by 900, yeah.
Yeah.
That takes into account all the caps and everything, the people that homesteaded it.
Yeah, we have an additional 900 revenue.
Well, for ad valorem, I mean, we have some grants that went down, so I think we'll get to that when we start talking about budget, but total.
Well, I mean.
Property value went up by
property went up 900 grand.
9.6%. That's what.
The tax was 9 point something.
So that translates into about $900,000?
Yeah, I think it was 900.
I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, I just have a
Okay,
quick
well,
question.
this is what we do here, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Let me give you, since we're speaking about it, if I can get you to pass it down. This is a cover sheet. Have everything here. So there's your copies of the interpreter.
Okay.
There's a cover sheet that
We
gives
need one more.
the at a glance.
Did you have one of these?
You have it?
Sorry, go ahead.
It's the at a glance information for your proposed budget, which includes the revenues, the ad valorem taxes that you were speaking of, and the expenses.
And that ad valorem taxes is a representative of the 9% increase?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and it's actually, we're going to get into that as we go through the process of reading the memo that we've created for you, Holly and I want to introduce Holly Bath, our consultant, our financial consultant.
Oh, hello there.
Hi, Holly.
So you're the one we've been talking about for a
Yeah.
while.
Well, hopefully not. Or
All
maybe good, not
Good,
bad.
good
Yes.
things, good
Spell
things.
your last name, please.
Val, V as in Victor, ATH.
So introducing Holly, what I would say is, it's been a whirlwind the weekend, and I can't thank her enough. Actually, we've made quite a lot of work seem very easy because of Holly's involvement. And so for the conversation that has started, we'll jump right to that. The cover sheet in front of you is the one that we had talked about for the last meeting to make it easy for the residents to look at
Which
and
one are you looking
understand
at?
and adequate.
This one here?
Correct. The proposed cover
Okay.
sheet. And that's an effort to take what can be pages and pages of Excel spreadsheets and give the direct information.
Did somebody add up expenses for a total number?
Yes,
And what is that total number?
let's move right to that then.
That would kind of set our tone here, wouldn't it?
Well, there's another memo she's got that we're going to go through.
So salaries and benefits are as they are today. Not,
No, so
You want me to go?
let's go through
Yeah, why don't you
them,
go
how's that, okay?
Let's go down to Van.
Okay, so I'll kind of speak as we go down here. So the ad valorem taxes
Okay.
is 9.5. The way that typically ad valorem taxes are budgeted is you would budget at 96% of your levy. The town has been budgeting at 100% of your levy. When you budget at 100% of your levy,
I don't think we
then-
do that.
No, do we?
No.
Yeah, that's what you've been doing.
98.5, I
um,
believe is our number.
last year you budgeted 100%.
No, we didn't.
I don't think we did either. But we did according to your figures?
Yes,
Okay.
We're
Wow.
proposing we go to 96.
right, exactly. Because there is a 4% discount that if people pay in November, they get a discount of 4%.
So we've been through this numerous times, and we always had extra money left over. So that's why we went to, we were at 97.5, 97. We had extra money every year, so then we started calculating it. I can't believe Lynn didn't do this last year. I think it was 98.5. Does anybody remember?
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I pulled out what was in the tax roll, and then that's what the number is budgeted. So that's all I can tell you.
I think 100% ended up in the budget last year.
Not from this dais.
Well,
No way.
there's a lot of stuff.
Because we would never do
didn't
that.
come from this diet.
If we checked every figure, we would have known.
Well,
Whatever.
Whatever.
yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah,
and
It
continue.
doesn't matter because the real number that comes through works its way through and you just see the plus or minus at the end of the year.
Yeah, but
Right, so-
at 96, we're causing us to probably increase taxes versus.
No, we're not. Well, we can talk through that. We're going to go through that.
So the 9.5 in the ad valorem taxes there is at the 96%. I mean, you could go higher.
That's at 96%?
That is at 96% based on the preliminary value that the property appraisers just released last week. So again, that there's going to be the final number that gets released on July 1st. So typically those numbers change from the preliminary to the final. So then other revenue that we have is the 2.9 million from the sheet that you have, and that's shared revenue with the state, building permit revenue. It's all sorts of type of revenue that we have, which again, you've all been here for a while, so you know what kind of the revenue that is. And then we're proposing that we use some of our unassigned carried forward of $680,560. But we go down to the expenses, the salaries and benefits. So at this point, the
Can I
salaries and
interrupt you again?
Sure,
Is unassigned carried forward in our language reserve?
yes,
Okay.
Well, it's money that we didn't spend
that's correct.
this year.
Right. but-
So it's like amounts that would have increased the reserve.
Correct.
But we're saying we don't need to increase. Well, we need to have a conversation about that.
Right.
So we probably don't need to increase the reserve, so we might as well.
So not to go
You just spent it this
too
year.
tangent on you,
Right.
what do we get? 60% running the town on reserve?
The reserve, yeah,
right
you've
now-
got all that. Yeah.
You're at, as of the estimated at the end of September, for the September financials, which are not done yet, but it's 81.3% is what would be.
81.3% of the year?
Of your next year. So
Wow.
typically you would, again,
We don't need that much.
put it against what your next year's budget's gonna be, it's kind of as a comparison. So, to have the money available for the next year's. So typically I would do that calculation on the subsequent year budget. So on your subsequent year budget from 2024 to 2025, you're at 81%.
So that's one of the strategic conversations we
Yeah.
would have is
We've never been at
is that
81%,
enough? Yeah.
ever.
So that's a strategic conversation to have. But the main point here is we sure don't need to increase it. So that's why
Yeah.
the 680 is in there.
Great.
All right, so going on to the,
Okay, so
Personnel
salaries
costs.
and benefits. So the personnel costs do in fact show an increase. We have a PBA contract that was approved where the PBA members get 3% on October 1st, and then they get another 4% on their anniversary date based on the merit performance matrix that was in the contract. Again, I don't know the details of how that works, but somebody does. And then for the other general employees, we've included a 3% merit increase, cost of living on that October 1st, along with all of the PBA employees, and then a 2% merit increase, which would be on their anniversary date. So all the employees would receive something on their anniversary date. The general employees, it would be the maximum of 2%. The police officers, it's maximum 4.5%.
So this 2%, 3%, it's year over year, it's gonna go up that much?
That's what it is in these numbers right now.
So 5%.
But the software takes into account when the people's anniversary dates are. So if you looked at year over year, it wouldn't exactly be that because
Okay,
it doesn't happen until October for some people, until March for some other people. So that's all built in. But she's made assumptions, that makes sense.
but every year we can anticipate a similar increase.
Well,
That's
well, no.
really your decision, it's not, I'm.
Right.
No, the
That's what it
3%
is.
maybe, but the 2%, on their anniversary date, that could be adjusted by, well, either one can be adjusted by the town commission.
The commission can make
I mean, we don't
whatever-
have to do
they
a
don't
3%, we don't have to do a 2%.
So we're
We
just
do
making-
whatever
Do you
we
want,
want.
do
This
you
is
want to
just for
just
budget.
call it 3% cost of living, or would you tie it to something like CPI? Because CPI is now 2.5% in the rural.
Well, right now, you're just telling us a general, going
This
right
is
down the
just
list.
budget.
And we
This is
can,
just for the
Yes.
budget. We're gonna have a whole conversation about what we really do when we get to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
yeah,
Gotcha.
but people just do a
Gotcha.
general,
we're just
Okay.
creating a budget.
Got it.
Right, with
Sorry.
estimates.
Yep.
That's
So
good.
you could,
No, it's a good point.
you all have to make that decision.
Yeah.
On what those numbers are. Again, for the PBA, you've already signed a contract, so you know what those numbers are.
Yeah.
So.
okay, so we're back to, we're to operating now?
We're on salaries and benefits. There were also additional things that Michelle, I guess, had talked to. There were additional increases that are included in that number as well.
You mean the
Are
ones
those
on your
contained in
separate sheet?
here in our pack, in our binder,
Correct, based on
Okay.
the one-on-ones that we had with the police department changes, yes,
Mhm.
the recommended increases?
recommended increase.
So this is kind of best based on all the information we have right now,
Right.
kind of a best estimate of what it really will look like.
And providing
no
the
surprises.
raises that you suggested?
Yes,
Mhm.
and providing, and the town manager new salary midpoint.
Midpoint for the new town manager.
That's an all-in.
So you get it, we're gonna keep interrupting you the whole time.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
He's an accountant, no one else is.
She's just-
Go ahead.
I'm not an accountant.
When you hear the lull, that's
I
when-
haven't interrupted.
Go ahead, right back in.
This is also why we met with Commissioner
Yeah.
before.
And she got interrupted from the get-go. She's used to it.
It's one less.
Okay, so then we go to recurring costs and operating expenses, and that really is kind of everything all in on what it costs us to operate the town. And, what I explained to Michelle is that, when I do my personal budget, there are things that are necessary, meaning I have to turn the lights on, turn the thing, the faucet, the water comes on. And then there's things that I might consider necessary, but you might not consider necessary. So it's the operating expenses based on what we know right now, okay? But there are things in there that, again, might not be necessary. There's travel, there's training, but is that necessary to me? Is it necessary to you? Those are decisions that we don't really get into, but it's in those recurring costs, assuming that if we had it in the past, we're gonna have something similar in the future.
What's the bulk of that? It seems high.
A bulk of it is your contract with the
Fire.
Fire.
That's
Fire.
easy.
That's like,
I think
And
it's
it's
close to 2
3% for you.
million or 1.6 million, 1.7 million, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So, and then,
when we started, I think it was like 600,000.
But we have all the details that add up to all of it.
We'd
But
rather
at this
just keep
stage-
bugging along.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying,
Yeah,
we thought it
I
was
find
good
that
to start out at a very high level like this, so you
Yeah.
can see where all the moving parts are.
yeah, so, obviously, we do have the detailed budget. BSNA is very good software. It could, you carry over the stuff from year to year. So all the detail that was in there last year that you saw was carried over into the new budget to do these projections. So it's really nice. It saves a lot of time, and you could do the projections based on that. So if all your payroll is in the system, which it is, you could do, do you want only 1% and 4%, or you want 2% and 6%? It allows you to do all that and then do those calculations for us and feed it back into the budget. So it's very nice software. It does everything you want it to do. Then the next one is debt service. So your debt service, you have two loans. One loan is being paid off in July of this year, which is the SRF loan. And then the other loan doesn't get paid off until 2027, and that is for town hall renovations, I think.
The
Might have
building,
been the
It's the
building.
building,
And
it's the actual
Okay.
building, yeah.
So the other one is the drainage.
the state revolving
The
fund, yeah.
SRF, which was July of 2025, so the last payment is coming up in another month.
That's great.
So the only debt service at this point is the $330,000 would be in next year's budget. And then the capital improvements right now is 2.6 million, which I understand was decided at a prior meeting what those are. And I think it's on Is it on another sheet?
It's on the front page of your proposed
Okay.
budget narrative.
So the projects right now are the Harbor Drive North drainage improvements, Phase 4 modernization of pipe.
I don't have it.
Where's the
This-
phase
This-
one?
This was just passed out.
Oh, we did the new one. This one. And it's Fast and Furious, it's big one.
The seawall, and then Phase 2 modernization of pipe. And again, I don't know your town that well, but
Is contingency in this?
there is a contingency of $500,000 in the budget, and that's under recurring right now, because
In
that's
recurring,
kind of
okay.
where it was last year. I mean,
That's
we could-
fine.
We could pull it out if you don't want it
No, no.
recurring.
I just wanted to know.
But
And you can
that's-
change it, too. It doesn't have to be 500.
Right, right, our understanding is that rather than do, my understanding is rather than do budget amendments, you wanted to have that somewhat of a large contingency in there, so that when whatever might come up next year, you don't have to come back and do budget amendments, you could just take that out of the contingency and make that decision then.
So the seawall is the Hudson seawall?
Correct.
Yeah.
This is all based on the prioritizations that we've talked about as we were going through our planning and everything. We can still change this stuff, but this is where
Absolutely.
we were.
I
This is where we
love
were.
this.
Yeah.
This is great.
The beauty of this process, the way you have it set up, is that each workshop, we basically knock something off the list. And so
Or
the
add.
previous, or add, and that is the beauty. And so we've been able to understand the priorities for your infrastructure and that's what we've included.
Good.
Okay,
Okay, so, let's see.
And then capital items under the 205,000, the
Mhm.
majority of that is an exchange of vehicles for the police department. I think it is two, chief, that are rolling off of a lease, and you're looking to exchange them.
Well, we currently have 4 on a lease, and I haven't put it in the budget, but I was looking at breaking the lease early because of losing 4 cars at one time.
So this is a potential purchase for 2 cars.
No,
The
The
155?
the 155 is the lease for the 4, and then 1 additional car.
That's what the 155 is?
Yes.
Okay.
that takes a lot of that capital, takes a lot of that up. All right,
Well, it's good for a lease. If we were purchasing them with all of the equipment on there, that would in essence reduce our ability to have the fleet.
Okay, so let me just make sure we.
So if it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, I think but tell me if this is wrong with your meetings. Since you don't have a meeting that shows visually what's going on and the overheads right away, I thought maybe would you like me to read this into the minutes, or do you want me to just have this memo uploaded?
just upload it,
Just upload, okay.
you need to read the whole thing.
Okay, very good. And when you read through this, I think what you'll find is it gives a very good roadmap of how the budget's laid out. And then also, any changes that you would want to make will be easy to pinpoint and discuss in the July meeting.
And
Right
maybe you
now-
want to call attention to on this memo that Town of Ocean Ridge historical data, it's got the table there that shows, Jeff, that was the question you were asking earlier about the actual ad valorem taxes. Do you see it there? It's the 9.944, the 9.7% change, assuming the same millage rate, and the new taxable value, taking into account all the homesteading and everything, is 1.841 billion.
So am I crazy?
Oh, it's all gone.
So I just added up expenses and it equals exactly revenues.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what
That's on
that's
purpose.
the 100% thing.
I thought we were gonna face a
Balance
gap.
out.
No, I didn't. I thought we faced, here's what we need. And we don't have enough revenue for it.
Yeah,
You have enough revenue.
Okay.
Well, because we're taking money out of reserves, we're taking 680,000.
That's not really taken out of reserve.
No,
That's-
it's money that carries over.
Yeah, it carries
So we're
over, yeah.
pulling it out of reserves. It's,
Yeah.
we overtaxed.
And we're at 96%.
We didn't overtax.
These are actually just a few small projects that didn't get done this year, and we moved that forward as well. So we didn't utilize the money, and we put it into this budget as well.
So we don't tax people twice to do the same thing that we budgeted
No,
for.
exactly, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we have $30 million worth of pipes to replace, so
Yeah.
didn't overtap.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about reserves. So again, I know I think I listened to one meeting last year, or maybe Michelle had listened to it, but what's the appropriate level of reserves, right? So for a coastal town, right on the beach, you probably have a higher percentage than most other towns, more inland. So typically, again, I work for Palm Beach Gardens, I work for the healthcare district, and, typically you're at 25%, maybe a little bit more, but 50%, again, being on the coast, on the ocean, is probably at the minimum that you'd want to be, just because of where you are. Because if a storm comes through, you have to have the cash to actually do that cleanup. Eventually, you'll get the money from FEMA, perhaps. I don't know now if you will or not, but eventually you get the money from FEMA, but it will be a cash flow issue. So that's really where your reserves are important, in that is that cash flow. So this does in fact put us above that 50%, but it's really up to the.
So right now we have $8.5 million in reserves.
At the end of 2025, that would be where our projection is to be at the end of, yes. 8.5, yep.
That's quite tidy sum.
Yeah, but I think the math's off, because if our budget is 13,227 and our reserve is 8.5, that can't be 81%, can it?
No, 65.
65%.
65.
By the end of next year.
At the 2024, it was 81%.
Well,
It's
because
saying
we
by the
didn't
end of
spend it.
2025.
Yes.
All right, so give me where we're at the end of,
We're projecting at the end of 2025, which is we're in right now, it'd be 66.9%.
okay.
And that's just a projection. That was based on what I saw in the budget, what you budgeted and what you've spent so far.
But that's great.
That is great.
So we're working it down a bit, but it's still, we could still have a conversation about whether we think it's the right level,
That's fine.
whether we should use
That's
more
very-
enough or, yeah.
Historically, that's extremely strong. We've been usually in the 50s.
Yeah, yeah. All right, where you want to
That's
go
all I
next?
have.
Michelle?
That's really it. Commissioner, Mayor and Commissioners, it's really up to you to just give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. There's no voting today. So it's really about how do you feel? What else would you like to see? And again, at this point, this budget is being made with a handful of assumptions. And one of the biggest ones is that it's a 5.4 millage rate. And so in July, when we come together in July, I'm going to ask you to confirm that, either as your highest number or if you're going to offer a higher number. At that point in time, that's when we do that highest trim.
We remember very well
Remember that?
this conversation last year.
And I think as you're contemplating, as we're coming up to our next meeting, if you decide, if you feel like there's some other items that should have a higher priority, when we were first talking about this, phase 4 was phase 4. Now phase 4 is kind of phase 1 because we learned that we have low pressure for the hydrant. So we made some adjustments to that. If you guys think there's something that should jump up that's not on the list, then we should have an argument about, or discussion about whether, we reallocate to some other project. This is based on all the conversations we've been having.
So do we have the answer to the question I was talking to you and then talking to Lisa about phase 4? Does phase 4, if we make phase 4 the next phase, does that include the quote blockage section that affects Hudson?
It does.
It does. So isn't that a discussion about whether we want to fix the blockage or use that as $3.4 million next phase?
I'm confused about like what you're separating out from what. It's either we replace the pipe or we don't.
Well,
It's
we
not
know-
like there's a section of it that's, they don't know that.
I was under the impression that the fire chief had a section of pipe that he was concerned about.
So I think the way we're going to move forward, and this will be part of the discussion tonight, is phase 4 in its original view was a bit larger, and it may not be necessary to do the full amount. So as we found more information, we know that the issue ends at Corinne Street. So it goes from Corinne Street to East Ocean. And so at this point, we can divide it, much like you
See this?
did previously with 2A and 2B out front, and make sure that we get this part done and quickly move through that process and we solve the problem a lot faster. And with less money. So we're gonna hear some of that information, and when we get the design information in front of us, we'll get to it.
But the number in here is to do what needs to be.
Correct. The
But that
that's
number is
in-
the 4,000 feet. What you're suggesting is less than 4,000 linear feet, right?
Yeah, this is, the number that's in here is the number that was provided originally from January of this year from Ingenuity at the 4,000.
So,
Correct.
so tonight is the engineer and everybody will figure out what section to do and how many linear feet?
That won't get figured out tonight, but you'll get an introduction to it, and then your engineers will figure that out between now and the time that they say go. Right now, I'm putting in front of you the maximum amount that we believe that it's gonna be for the full phase.
Yeah.
And if there's an opportunity to do the half of that, the part that is the biggest impact and more immediate, with cash and get it done right away, then we'll move forward with that quickly.
It doesn't look like it's half. I mean, if you go from Ocean Avenue down to Corinne, the full section, section 4, is down to Thompson. So it's really like 75, 80% of,
Of the phase 4?
Yeah, but the proposed budget includes phase 4 and phase 2.
well, because we're seeking a state appropriation for phase 2A, half of 2. So if we are awarded that money, then we have to go forward with that.
So correct, let me.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying we could, like, if we could do both, we're doing phase 4 and phase 2 and
Economies
total.
of scale.
But the 3.4 million wasn't phase 4 and phase 2. That was phase 4 only, right?
phase 4 only. Yeah.
Construction and everything else, so we're around that number.
But are you assuming, does that assume that we get some funding for that?
Well, that'd be for phase
Only
2.
Phase 2.
Okay, just for phase 2.
So the reason I say that it's 2,000 feet versus the 4,000 feet, on that map that you're using right there, it does say 4,000 feet. It shows the portion that goes only to Corinne. However, based on an email I received today from somebody who takes care of the surveying in Ingenuity, she's led me to understand that it's under 2,000 square linear feet. It's about
Okay.
1,700 and change. So that original map may be correct, but the document that we used with all the colors and the
Mhm.
dollar amounts from January of this year, I think that one is not probably 100%
This
correct.
one.
That's the one, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So on that sheet, you can see it says phase 4, 4,000 linear feet,
Mhm.
if I remember correctly. And then if you cross-reference that to the map itself,
Mhm.
you would assume that that purple portion of that map would be 4,000
4,000.
linear feet. However, the surveyor today, via email, and I can forward it to you, Billy, said it's about 1,700 linear feet. So,
Half?
Oh.
That's in
right,
half?
so I think that
I
is
mean,
going
That's
to.
a change.
That's right. That's pretty.
Well, they can answer those
Jeez.
questions tonight then.
Right, so
right?
I don't, and quite frankly, I don't know if Ingenuity made that document that you
Yes.
hold in your hand, or
Yep.
if the previous town manager made it. Because Ingenuity made the map, that I know.
Right.
I just don't know who came up with the 4,000.
So it depends, you get the rain for it.
So the hope here is that,
Yeah,
the hope here is that it's cheaper than what is showing on that document
Yeah.
from January.
Okay.
Because I think on that document, it shows about 44,000 for surveying and
Yep.
SUE. And the estimate that we're receiving as of today is 20,000 for the 1,700 linear feet.
so also Lisa said the 875 for legal/engineering.
Yeah.
That's a calculation. Apparently this is a common municipal calculation. If the project is 3.4, you take 25% and use that number, which is where that 875 comes from. Lisa says traditionally we're never at 25%, much, much less. So the 875,000 will be dramatically reduced as well.
I think we all felt like when we looked at that form, it was a bit high.
So there's some moving parts on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But hopefully tonight we'll get that ironed out, right?
And this is exactly
We'll
how
start-
budgeting's done in every
start.
municipality. You deal with the numbers that are available to you, and some of it is, feels arbitrary, but it's calculated per linear foot or
Right.
whatever the item
On
is.
formulas.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's
So-
sure the heck a
so
lot
the-
easier to understand than budget path.
Yeah.
Last year,
Can we, here before? So these, all that you showed us with what you're proposing through the data that you got from this PEPIE,
Yes, ma'am.
those numbers are all included in this budget.
Yeah, so the only changes that were made to your non-PD
Mhm.
personnel were based on that 5% number.
Okay.
The combination of your COLA and merit.
Okay.
Now, last year, you all made a final decision to do 3% merit and 3% COLA for your non-PD.
It was 3% COLA plus 3% in a pool that Lynn could divvy to the employees as she saw fit.
Okay, so that's what.
But
you
everyone
did.
got 3%.
I went a little conservative on your non-PD this year and did the 3 and 2. So if you find you want to change any of that, additionally, remembering, as the Commissioner said, the 2% merit will be staggered based on their anniversary date. So that changes the year-over-year numbers. And as we do performance evaluations, if, I don't know everybody from the last year, but if between now and when their performance evaluations come up, if there's a discussion that somebody did something amazing, they'd bring it back to you, and ask you for a change if we needed to. So right now, that conservative number, I think, is the right way to go.
Okay, and then I asked in my one-on-one about, you remembered that we hired Evergreen to do the compensation class study,
That's right.
and they came back with, Kelly printed it all out for me again,
That's 25 grand. wasn't
the
it?
current pay plan versus what they were proposing. So we paid them to do this, but the numbers that Michelle's been working with are all available on this PEPIE. So did you look any closer at how these compare to?
I did not, because the class ranking, the class numbers are really, we would take the people that are working here and fit them into the class
Right.
rankings.
Right.
And so that's one way to utilize what you already have. I was using the survey numbers to see what the balance of Florida, how they were categorizing their numbers. You're not far off when you're looking at, title for title. The real challenge, I think, here is just deciding what work people are doing and does it match the title that they have. In some cases, maybe people are undercompensated. In some cases, maybe they're overcompensated for the actual work versus their title.
Okay.
So that's why it was important to go back to everybody that is non-PD and say, let's go through your job description together. And I asked them to take the first stab at it. And so everybody, in essence, rewrote their job description to make it based on what they're actually
So
doing.
these job descriptions are not taken from the town handbook. These are from the
It's a
employees.
combination. It's a town handbook, like, that's where it started. But
Okay.
then tell me also what you're really doing,
Wow.
so that we have an understanding.
So if somebody
Okay.
had two different categories.
So
of
that was all
jobs.
done, that was all done in-house. It wasn't,
Correct.
because Evergreen also at the time was supposed to be looking at and revising our employee handbook.
Did they ever get to that stage?
No,
No,
I hope we didn't pay him for it.
No, they did the handbook.
they
The
did.
You
handbook,
guys
but then
passed it
there
in
was the next
November.
stage that Karen was talking about. So we nixed
I
that.
don't think we've hired him for that phase.
You did not. You did not hire him for the
Job
job
description.
description.
Okay,
You stopped
okay.
at that.
But these ones work, and they reflect what is actually going on.
Yeah.
And thanks to the staff for not only, taking the time to go through what they, and painstakingly track what they do. But we also had Danielle went through and reformatted everything for us as well. So she did a great job.
Well, thank you for spearheading that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure.
PEPIE, that's Public Employees Personal Information Exchange. That's what that stands for.
And I can give you the link.
So I was like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what that is.
Mhm.
What page you on?
And that's public-
This is behind the,
Publicly available information.
It has
so number 740.
every job
non-PD.
description. or-
47.
No, it's, keep going, number, page 7. So it gives each one of these salary amounts. That's public information.
It's public information, yes.
So we paid for public information.
Well, we paid for classification.
I want one of those gigs.
Yeah.
So what do we do now?
All right, we got to give a thumbs up to what's going on and say, yep, let's keep going in this direction. It seems like the right direction. I don't know if I'm at, really, are we going to discuss the 100% versus 98% versus what we're going to use with the budget?
Well, let's explain it a little more detail, so, because it may not be coming off clear for the people that are listening. As you know, this is a town that typically pays its bills pretty quickly and on time, but not all towns are that way. That's why the state allows budgeting to occur anywhere from 96% to 100%. People in some towns wait all the way till April or later to pay their property taxes. And what we have noticed, and what we see in this town is most people get the discount right up front,
Oh, yeah.
which is a really good reason why we should budget at 96%. Because we don't get typically 100% because they drag it out to the end. We don't get 100% of that non-discounted amount.
We have historical data. Kelly, you've been here 3 years, right? So what you're asking for is pretty simple just to pull up in the books. We have never been shortfall of the percentage. And I think you'll find it was 97.5 when we raised it to 98.5 and had no problems.
Only one time.
We had a problem.
We had only one
But you-
time, that was 15 years ago, where we had to dip into reserves to balance the budget once. And all the time I've been up here.
So
What Michelle's saying is at 96%, we're being extremely conservative and assuming everyone's going to apply
Get
or
the,
pay
uh,
early
We
and
ran
get the
this-
discount.
We ran this at 96 because then
I
you
know,
don't have a downside.
but we have data
Right.
that tells us we don't need to do it at 96, that's all.
I haven't seen that. So if we've got it, great.
Were you here for last year's budget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then,
We budgeted 100% last
no, we did not.
year. We did. But
I'm-
Maybe it wasn't
I'm fine. We
explained
can have
to
the
us.
discussion
Yeah.
once we get the data in front of us. Yeah.
And I'm trying to offer you a conservative view. And if more money comes in during the course of the year, you'll have more money to spend.
We can see how conservative we are. We have $8.5 million in reserves. I mean, that's pretty conservative.
I think that this is going to be a year where we can get a lot done with your infrastructure.
Mhm.
Of course, we'll have to be very mindful about having too much going on at once, but, I can very clearly see phase 2A here being in design for this next year, while we move quickly on the southern area for the water main replacement.
Wasn't that our main job? Taking care of the infrastructure for the town?
Right.
And we've isolated water
So this
pipes
is
as our main infrastructure issue.
When you finish, and I was gonna save this for tonight, but I wanna say it and I'll say it again later. But when you're moving through this quickly, when you finish this project off of Hudson and Ocean, you're gonna be almost 50% of the way done with your water main infrastructure upgrades. That's really great within a short period of time.
Hey, can we
Huge.
go right to Marine Foster? Or we have to go to,
We might,
That's a good question.
we might be able to because of the emergent issue, and that's
Okay.
really.
For the one on Hudson, I think.
For the emergency
Correct.
one.
That
Not
that's
for
the
2A.
emergent one.
well, if Hudson's part of phase 4, then,
That's
you know,
correct.
maybe.
Well, some company did such a fine job.
Yeah,
It'd be,
Mhm.
That'd be great if we.
They're well known in the industry. They're well respected. You selected a good.
well, it's a follow-up. That was the key. And doing things after the fact.
they explained exactly.
Well,
Right.
and of course, the young engineer on the project. Chief's son.
And we can't forget that.
So,
No, Gary was great, though. He came to speak to us a couple of times.
so like Michelle said, we've been pretty conservative so far. Michelle and Holly have got all the details that you guys can dig into as deep as you want, the line items like we went through last year. And, that's gonna give us another couple bites at the apple as we move through the process. We'll get more data, the tax base will get nailed down. We can look at the historical stuff on whether we should budget 96% or 98%. The only thing we know for sure is it's gonna be wrong. I mean, we're making estimates here. So let's, we can either be conservative, we can be aggressive. But we'll have another couple bites at the apple over the summer.
So do we need to discuss the additional, the issues here, the major issue, or is this for tonight's meeting?
That's tonight's meeting.
The police chief and all
We
that?
advertise for tonight's meeting, yes.
Okay, so this,
Correct.
and the building department, that's tonight?
You know what?
I don't have anything on.
The job descriptions are tonight, not now, for the 3 positions, is that what you're saying?
They're fine.
Okay. That's what I think you said.
Building department?
What's,
Do you want to
Oh,
talk
I'm
about
sorry.
the
You're
kind of,
talking about the permit tech, building
Yeah.
department communication, so.
well, there's a couple of things, permit requirement, the extra police officer,
What I did
things
on
like that.
I pulled that out of the agenda, I did not, when I was going through, with your one-on-ones, I changed my mind on that item for now. And so what we know, is that one of our building permit technicians will be moving on in the future, in the not too distant future, but she's planning to finish out the fiscal year with us. And then she'll be moving back with the building official, because she's his
Is that her
contract.
choice?
That's hers and his. She's a contract employee for us. So she actually worked for him to begin with.
Mhm.
So she's gonna have an opportunity to work from home. So it's a nice thing for her.
Wow.
So she's going to do that, and initially I was coming to you to ask, can we create a new position that is a town employee? And that's where I was going, and I was trying to show you that it would still be significantly less expensive, but still the same value. Since then, I've had a chance to take a look at the building permit totals per month, and I don't think we need to go there yet. So what we're going to do is have one of our other employees that's already existing, who has mainly been utilized as a deputy clerk. We're going to utilize her also in this position to subsidize the work that Lindsay's may need some extra help on.
So I assume we're talking Danielle's leave.
Correct.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
Danielle
Trina
leaves,
can
do you plan on having anybody from
Hybrid.
hybrid come in to that spot part-time each week?
They're going to make somebody available for us.
What's available?
Well, would love another 40 hours, I'm sure, but I don't think we need a 40-hour contracted employee at $50 an hour.
No, I agree, but I mean, you're talking in-house available.
Exactly, in-house available, and quite frankly, if they're good with BSNA, they may even be able to help out of remotely if we needed that. I don't think we need that. Trina, since we're
Yeah.
speaking specific names, is comfortable and has been receiving some more training, and so she'll fill in where needed, and then we'll determine what the right amount of hours is. But right now, what I've done is I've gone through and I've run some parallels to see what the level of service is at our highest number of permits month versus our lowest, and so we'll start to scale that schedule to parallel those numbers.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? The two positions, police lieutenant and police dispatch, you give us the kind of the ranges and what your recommendation is. What are the current salaries for basis of comparison?
So I'm going to look to the chief on some of
Yes.
those things and.
That's on my, that should be in my memo, the
Oh,
dispatch
I
manager
got it.
is at 93 and the lieutenant's at 99.
thank
So
you.
we're gonna do these now?
Okay. So, Madam Commissioner, if I may. So the current is 93 for the dispatch manager,
Mhm.
and in this budget that we're presenting, the proposed budget, we ran that number at 99 for you to see the conservative view of it. And for the PD lieutenant, we ran that number at 120.
Do you know if that number included the additional officer requests? That did not, probably, right?
No,
I have 97 written down. Was that just me? You have it bumping to 99?
I have the PD dispatch in the budget that we did over the weekend
Mm-hmm,
that you're just looking at with Holly.
mm-hmm.
I brought it to 99.
What is this person make currently? Is this the 93 person?
Yes,
Right.
Okay. That's where the confusion is. And then the lieutenant? What?
Lieutenant is currently at 99,
Mhm.
and that brings him to 120.
120?
That's where I put that, yes.
Well, we should discuss that, right?
We can.
Seems like a pretty big jump, chief.
And from 99, I mean, I haven't had an administration, the first year I didn't have administration. I brought lieutenant in and, he manages the patrol side pretty good. It helps me out a lot. We've been able to accomplish a lot of things, in the last year. If it's in that 115 and 120, what I was trying to compare, because the sergeant makes the same with other benefits as he does. I was trying to make it, an incentive, especially when there's another lieutenant I can promote to make it more attractive. That they want the position, because if they're making the same amount as a sergeant, as that lieutenant, there's no incentive.
It strikes me as aggressive, but maybe that's just me. I mean, there's other commissioners here. you know?
You pay what you get for, right?
the
21,
chief thinks that,
21%
yeah.
increase, I mean,
Yeah, but it's the person is doing more than what they were originally doing, and they're making the same amount of money as a sergeant. I think that's
Yeah,
what
but that's
chief
the
is saying.
CBA problem, isn't it?
I kind of look at
It's our
it,
problem if you've got somebody that you want to incent to actually take that job.
I kind of look at it a different way too, though. Look at the difference in what has happened in the town of Ocean Ridge and criminality wise.
That's it.
We went
reduced
from, you know,
70%.
from, you know, we had problems.
So now we don't. So
And
don't
now we
need-
have no
don't
problems,
need
so
that
we don't
many
want to,
police.
and the chief's saying, hey, this is how I got there, and this is what I need in order to keep these
I
people,
set up one commissioner,
you know?
so obviously everyone wants to.
It's like, it's the old saying, you know, do we want to,
I'm willing to trust our police chief. that he's got
Well, we've gone from stopping 200 to 300 cars a month. I just got the numbers, we stopped 700 cars last month. Crime, we've reduced 70%. We've done a lot of outreach with fraud. We've done TV shows down in Briny. We've met with the homeowners associations here. We've been holding CPR classes. You know, traffic is picked up, you know, with technology, you know, the LPR readers that you guys funded, that's helped us a lot. We're, you know, with the live static cameras, you know, it's really helping, and they're showing up and being extremely proactive. And I think it's a good formula that's going on now. I had that swing shift with those 2 officers, and that's really helping. And we're full right now. That's why that ask for that additional officer was there, so I can fulfill that second empty lieutenant's position in another year's time as I develop.
is that the reason why we were considering hiring another officer, correct?
An additional.
Yeah.
Not a,
In this budget?
Right. It was just a request, yes.
so should we do these one at a time? I guess we're doing them now, right?
Yeah.
I guess we're doing it now, right?
So, the lieutenant, it's up to you guys, I guess. I'll go along with what anybody thinks. I just thought 120 was kind of aggressive at 20% raise, but that's me.
well, if you average it out across the family.
Well, the thing is, we're
Oh,
so
yeah.
crime free.
No,
We're so crime free, we don't need that many police.
We can change that and see what happens.
Beachway will get hit.
Yeah, we'll just
Yeah.
patrol your street anymore.
Yeah, that's,
yeah.
it's like, what part of Beachway don't you want to patrol?
We have Stella.
That's-
Not now,
They
you
put
know.
Stella's house, it's gonna be a gap.
We have to protect them.
Oh, my goodness.
I
No,
wonder
the
what
chief,
her,
I look at the chief of police says, hey, look, this is what I need to get this, everything to keep it the way it's going, and it's going unbelievably well, then I'm all in. If we need another officer so that when it comes back around, to when the season comes and we have, you know, usually what the total freak out when everybody gets here.
Well,
and,
the
you know,
spring breakers and the dog patrol.
Dogs, free
Hey,
breakers.
that's a separate item though.
Here's-
So right now, we're agreeing to go to 120 on the lieutenant.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I want to, yeah, it's like every time I drive north through Gulfstream, I remember we had a chief of police that was here and went there. I'm thinking, our lieutenant's pretty sharp. Do we want him to be down there or do we want him to be here? And I'm thinking,
So it sounds like everyone wants to go to the 120.
I think we're gonna go to the 120.
Okay,
I support the chief.
the median's 120.
okay.
All right,
That's
so.
worth
So it's
moving
not,
on to-
You're getting hung up on the fact that he was being underpaid.
yeah, I don't look at it that way, but that's me.
Well,
All right, so 120, that's great.
120 is in.
Now we go to dispatch and we go from 93 to 99, was that it?
Yeah, I'm all in on that, because you know how hard it is to get people to fill those roles in
And she's also the
dispatch.
public records, you know, feels that, and the dispatch manager, you know, she's just recently trained 2 new dispatchers, with full staff in there.
Yeah, I don't have a problem there.
Yeah,
That's,
anybody have a
to me,
problem?
is a raise.
All right, so we're good on that one and that one. What about the
Chief.
additional officer?
Well, we gotta go chief first.
Oh, the chief, well, I mean, I thought they would give us a discount.
Because we have no crime.
We have no crime.
Well, I took the salaries from our neighbors, Manalapan and Gulfstream. I was just trying to be competitive with our neighbors. We have accomplished a lot in the last, I'd say, over 3 years that I've been chief.
We've accomplished in the last 2 years, it's been
It's been great.
unbelievable, fantastic.
Plus the morale,
Yeah,
the attitude,
everything.
the customer service, the friendliness of the community. It's wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Manalapan makes 155.
Correct.
Should we just go to that?
But what are we looking for?
See this guy here, right here? Current salary is 140. Manalpa makes 155, Gulfstream makes 152.
Well, that's last year, they'll get presumably they'll get an increase.
It's right on this group.
Oh, okay, I missed it.
That's not a forward-looking one.
No, that's what they're current.
That's last year's.
Michelle, what do we need?
Sir, I made this budget with 155, but that is true that the numbers you're looking at for your neighboring areas were the last fiscal year's numbers, and they'll be receiving at least their typical COLA or merit.
Is what's his name still down there? Chief?
Oh, no, they have a brand new.
Oh, they have a new chief?
He's-
Jones
he's-
gone?
No, Jones.
No,
gone.
Manalapan.
No, he's
No,
Gulfstream.
man.
They have a brand new chief?
Yes.
I don't know, I think we should
What's the shit?
go 156.
Do you know the salary?
What was that?
One-
One-
155 plus a 3%
That's what I'm
COLA
doing.
increase would be
An
159,
additional
650.
5,000, so it'd be 160.
But I would be eligible for.
You are.
The 2%,
Okay.
Because I'm non,
he's non-union.
and the lieutenant is 2% and dispatch and all that stuff.
So we need another 2% on the 3%?
No,
On the
I'm just saying.
155. No, so
So I did it at
158.
3%.
That'd be 158.
150.
3% would be one.
I don't have a problem going 3%, whatever you guys want, which comes to 160 instead of 155.
So 160 going
I'm
once.
fine with that.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, 160 on the chief.
Now, this additional law enforcement, I'm not a fan, but
Make sure you call Jones and let him know. Don't write that down, come on.
the additional police officer. Here's my thought process. We need an additional police officer, and the chief will correct me because I'm wrong. Between whenever North Carolina Chapel Hill goes on spring break and Easter, so that's approximately a 2-month, maybe 2.5-month period where we need the additional police on the beach, which is what is driving this request for an additional police officer.
No, that's not the only.
Well, hang on, let me finish.
You knew
So
he was gonna
the way it was
correct
set up this year was overtime. So we didn't pull from the road police. We brought in guys for overtime. So I thought that worked out great. And the officers seemed to like it, by the way. They enjoyed themselves, I think.
If we can, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm a little, I can kind of see if we can compare how much we spent in overtime to hiring a whole new officer. But I just,
I put those numbers in there, yes, it's
Oh,
not,
that means
it's not
it's-
equal, obviously, it's not
where do I find those?
Is that in your memo?
a.
Yeah, but I think that, I believe that the hiring of an officer, it also increases the level of service,
I mean,
which again, it comes down to what the whole point
the
is.
commission has pointed out many times, the growth on the other side, it continues to grow, and they do come.
You're literally preparing for the future by
6,000.
making sure we have somebody already here.
Traffic is, we did studies, with 40,000 vehicles, 60,000 on a 2-day, on a weekend, incoming cars.
The LPR is.
40,000?
So where's this, Dana, you said it's breakdown someplace? Is this the same memo I'm looking at?
It was
Yeah.
$6,000, additional $6,000.
Right, that we roughly spent for overtime for that.
During this last time here.
where'd you get that?
But I think that's just a small portion of
You
what
should've
the
gone-
Yeah,
you're
the
right.
whole reason of hiring another officer is. And I really think it's the level of service and being proactive for what happens next year when they finish building those condos across the way, which they're already starting right there next to the railroad track.
I saw that this morning.
So, I mean, do we do it reactively or we proactively? And I think being proactive, we have somebody's on staff and learns the ropes, and we're right, and you have the staff in order if a person goes down, we don't have the situation which was brought before.
Correct, correct.
And you all know we're talking about that situation, right?
No.
Hmm?
What?
Staffing situation.
I think it's kind of overkill, but obviously I'm in a minority.
Maybe not, I don't know.
I mean, if the condos are gonna go up, we're getting the added pressure. I would assume there's a reputational thing going on in the criminal community to Ocean Ridge at this point, since everybody and their grandmother's getting pulled over.
Well, yeah, that.
And the
does-
bikes.
get around.
And in golf carts.
Does it,
Yeah,
do
how
they
about that
test
bike?
us all the time? And it's from out of county, Miami and Broward.
Yeah, yeah.
They're coming up and they're testing us and they're hitting the other neighbor, our neighbors.
So my only suggestion would be, we get through the next fiscal, setting aside the money we need for the overtime beach patrol, and then as we see what goes on in point, and then we do it the following year. You're saying, let's do it now so the guy's
Well,
fully up to speed.
If they've
So
broken
we're up to
ground,
speed,
that's
or-
gonna take a couple of years. Like, we're not looking at an influx of people immediately.
That's what
And
I'm,
we have an open position right now, correct?
no,
We don't.
No,
we're adding.
we're adding.
How about if we budgeted for a mid-year hire so that they're up to speed by the time of, and then he can make you know, an audible during the year if he doesn't think he needs it. But we authorize him to hire one mid-year.
What
Yeah,
I've
but
done
it
is
takes
I've
a
kept
while
that
to get-
Other lieutenant's position empty to give it service to the road. I have that swing shift to give officers for service on the road. And if I have that extra position, I can fulfill that extra lieutenant's position that's there and needed as an admin lieutenant.
That's,
I'd like to go through accreditation, start that again. I'd like to do there's a lot of projects I have, but I'm trying to give more attention to the road and preventing crime than fulfilling that position at the time.
and that's why I think we should be proactive in doing it. Because it takes time to find somebody, first of all, go through all that process, put them on the road, train them on the road, they ride. That's a 6-month project as it is. So if we do a half year, then we're already 6 months behind.
Right.
There's 4 of you and 1 of me.
How do the rest of you guys feel, Dave?
I'm quiet.
Carolyn, where are you?
I think we should be proactive. I think there's just too much pressure from the other side. Let's get ready for it.
Carolyn, what's your thought?
Uh-oh, Michelle's saying yes too.
Got 3?
I'm supportive, so are we done?
Killing you in?
Yeah.
All right, so we're all in.
Reduce conflict.
What else we have? That was it for the
That was
police,
it.
wasn't it?
I believe.
Is that everything?
That's it.
Yep.
Can I ask something that's humiliating? I'm gonna do it right here in front of all of you. Commissioner, is it Aya?
Ayla,
Ayla?
yes,
Now say it again so that I can listen to it over and over again when I play this back.
Ayla.
Ayla.
2 syllables.
You could call her phone, leave a message.
I want to thank
Say
you.
it like 4
Ayla,
times.
Ayla.
Ayla, Ayla.
I work with Ayla.
You were mispronouncing it? I-
Kelly
will take the spelling
Yeah.
too.
I did as well. and-
Only took Kelly a year.
She's
Well,
got it.
Kelly's corrected me, and I wanted to make sure that I got you to say it online so I could listen to it. But I wanted to thank you. Thank you very much for meeting with myself and then also meeting with Holly and I and walking through this information. We went a little deeper with you than what we did today, but I'll be providing this information in detail to you by the end of business today. So you can take it home and look through all the details before making your final call in July, so that we can get that trim information going for you.
Well, right back at you. Thank you to
I
those two.
think,
We're in a way better position than we
oh
were
my
last
God.
Oh, yeah.
There's
All right,
a,
public comment?
oh, sorry, we have a tentative budget meeting on August 25th scheduled. We went through all the dates.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I'm
last
not,
meeting.
I'm not gonna be.
I'm
here.
not gonna be here then,
Me
just
either.
telling you.
I got no idea.
I'll be fishing in the Gulf of Mexico, America.
I'm gonna be having a grandchild.
Oh,
Oh, right.
Well,
That's
we
right.
have-
We're
Really?
having a grandchild.
If we're not gonna have 3, we're going to need to reschedule because that's one that we absolutely must.
I can participate by
Advertise?
phone
No, you have to have
or
quorum
remotely.
either.
I mean, if you have
No, it has to be a super majority, doesn't it? I thought it had to be a super majority.
What budget? It's a quorum for the Attorney General's ruling for the state.
It's a quorum for that. I don't
And then
think,
the outsiders can vote if there's a quorum in-house, but I don't know if it applies to budget.
I don't think we're in a position.
I gotta check on that date.
We're not-
25th?
If the commission is not looking to raise the millage, I don't believe we're going to be in a position to be concerned. As long as we're going to be 5.4 or less, we should
And
be okay with just a normal majority.
if things go south, you have the ability to call a quick
Emergency.
meeting, right?
Yeah, we would have to do an emergency
Let me
meeting.
check
We'd have to advertise it again differently.
What was it?
These are public hearings, as a
25th.
matter of fact. It's
August
important to
25th,
say-
it's a Monday.
I'm sorry to talk over you.
that.
It's a public hearing, so it's more than a regular meeting, and that's why it's important.
Oh, I'll be here. Pulley Ridge is 21st through the 24th.
And I'm pretty doubtful,
So I'll be here on 25th.
may or may not be on board with that thing.
That might
No
be
pun
where
intended.
I'd like to call in if I
That's
could.
correct. No pun intended.
All right, so I will.
And then our final hearing is,
Oh, no, I'm.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
and we'll have Zoom set up for you, Commissioner. If you'd like.
When's the
Oh,
baby
for
due?
September 8th? No, I'm here for that.
What
Oh,
time-
for,
what time is
for
that
the
meeting?
25th. Okay, great.
Yeah, it'll have to be after 5 o'clock, so it's probably 5.
That was at 6.
Is it
Yeah,
Kelly,
We have them at 6 o'clock.
6.
the budget meeting's at 6?
The one on the 25th, yes.
All right, let me put that in there.
Yes.
August 25th.
Are most of you gonna be here? or-
I'm gonna be here.
I don't know.
How many do we have to have, or did we decide it doesn't, that we can call in?
We need to have at least 3.
Here, I'm in person?
But you might want to check that with Chris because I don't know. I seem to remember something when it's the budget. I don't know if that rule applies.
We'll verify. We will verify.
So I have a question for you. At tonight's meeting, what of this budget material are we going to be discussing, if anything?
Nothing, right?
Yeah, so the.
Good.
Yeah,
That's,
zero.
that's why we did it now.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not gonna rehash it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Just the water and
Or whatever.
seawall deal.
Well, those are your capital projects.
Did you
Seawall's
talk to
on-
Lori?
Now, the ordinance on the
Seawall's not on tonight,
She's not coming?
for the presentation.
Lori Berman's not coming?
Lori.
Oh, Lori
did,
Berman, is she coming?
She canceled.
Because they got called at Senate.
I saw her
Oh, that's
last
right.
week.
She was just
said
here.
They
How many
had
times
a,
does she need to show up?
I just got a call
they're
this morning.
meeting throughout the month.
Yeah, they
The whole month.
a budget yet.
And they get
What
like
is-
2 or 3 days notice when they have to be up there. So
So she is coming.
she's not coming.
Oh.
On Wednesday, she thought she would be, but anything could change, so
She's gotta
something
go to
changed.
town.
When you say seawall, we're still discussing reading 2 of the seawall ordinance.
Yeah, we're gonna do the
Yeah.
seawall.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, hang on, is there something else in there?
Not the new seawall, just the seawall ordinance.
So the
Yeah.
water main modernization phase 4, we don't even need to discuss, we already did it, right?
We need to discuss it because we need to,
Oh,
for
'cause
purposes
Lisa's-
of procurement, in order for us to be able to go directly towards Boston Marine,
Yeah.
we have to actually talk about the fact that it's an emergent issue.
Okay, and Lisa will
so
be
it-
here.
It allows us to be exempt from that process.
Okay.
And the fire chief is coming or not coming?
The fire chief is coming and his presentation, I had a chance to look over, it. It's very solid. It's really making sure that you and the residents know that they have a plan and that we should not be worried.
Oh, excellent.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance, like it didn't show up on my,
Oh, did it?
it kind of like,
Mm,
I figured I'd ask you.
It's good.
All right, public comment, Christine?
Is that the police memo right there?
Yeah.
Hi, Christine Hassett, 29 Sable. I want to be there. What a charm of a budget for you. You finally, after many, many years of hard work and you guys coming up to speed, how nice is it to have money and to be able to do projects and know that you don't have to raise taxes and get people behind you and all shackled up. My only comment would be is, although $8.5 million sounds like a lot, I don't trust FEMA right now. I don't have a good feeling about the storm coming, this storm season coming up. And $8.5 million, you gotta remember, what does that buy you? It's not a percentage that you have to look at, it's what does it buy you? Does it get you 2 trailers because we don't have a police, the back of the building flew out and the generator disappeared? Does it get you, 5 porta potties? I don't know what it gets you, but in terms of cash flow, I think really rather than focusing on what a percentage of the reserves are, try not to use any of the reserves. If you don't have to use that 680, don't. I mean, it's getting great interest because commissioners, changed around how you save and, how you get remuneration now. So I wouldn't use any of it if you don't have to. Obviously, you're not raising taxes. What a wonderful position to be in. Probably even drop them a little, but it's insignificant truly in somebody's dollar amount. But really be careful with those reserves and think about, at one point I had asked a town manager to say, what's a good case scenario, medium case scenario, and a worst case scenario? And how much is that gonna cost you? And how long is it to get you reimbursed? And we don't even know if we could get reimbursed at these points. I mean, a lot of grants that were coming out of Bryony are all been stalled. They're all in limbo now. So I just, that's my only word of caution, but you're a wonderful addition. I wish we had hired you a year and a half ago when we could have had the opportunity to do it.
She withdrew.
I
She
know.
withdrew.
probably do. But anyways, congratulations.
You can answer the
Thank you.
magic question,
Thank you.
the percent. Remember? On the 98, 96, 97.
I'd go, we always did 98, 98 and a half. And we had to wrestle, with all due respect, always with the town manager, because the town manager doesn't want to put their neck out for something that is out of their control, which I totally get. And it's a conservative way, but I like your idea, Steve, go back and Kelly poll, the last 3 years. Is it 90% that pay within that take that 4% discount?
But I don't even care about that. I just want to know what we did, because we did achieve the monies that we budgeted for, or the
Yeah.
revenues, I should say.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to know though what the actuals were.
Kelly, you're
I'd
gonna
like
pull
to
that.
know.
We already asked her to pull it, right? Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, there's a number that shows every year what we
Yeah.
put back into the budget from the previous budget. So I mean, we have that information.
I mean, we're
But-
talking about $150,000, so it's not.
But one year was like
But-
300.
No, I'm saying 1.5%.
Oh,
96
1.5.
versus 97.
That may be the
150,000.
difference.
Right, but
Maybe they only drop the
$150,000 is
millage at that point.
5.3 mil instead of 5.4.
Yeah,
Well,
it
right,
might, it might.
Thanks.
Just a point though, that, about not raising taxes, by not raising the millage rate, keeping it the same, we're still raising taxes.
We've heard that.
Okay. Just
Yeah, but see,
clarifying.
the thing is, do you want to constantly make sure you're covered in your costs?
No, I know, I get the
I mean, to
argument,
me,
I'm
it's
just
like-
being clear on the language, that's all.
Yeah, I get it. I know, but everybody's heard, I think most people have heard that, oh, it's a tax increase, we keep it the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, you expect certain goods and services out of your town,
Right.
especially this town. And you've got to provide it.
Right.
That's all we're supposed to do. Goods and services, infrastructure. That's it. Right?
Yep.
Well, so you get all the.
Dog treats in the police station.
Dog treats and dog water bowls and all that kind of stuff is good too. All right, so is that it? Do you need a motion to continue on, or just consensus is good?
All good.
All right,
I didn't
beautiful.
ask that question.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
No, but last year, you had
Thank you.
John.
Okay.
Okay.
7,000 or 8,000 on the streets.
All right, meeting adjourned for tonight.
Okay.